Hey, it's Anthony Meisner.
And this is Jim Marion.
We're here from Front Range Facts, and we're going to bring you our national market update.
Yeah, so let's dive right into it, Anthony. David Stevens, who used to be the former assistant for the Secretary of Housing, had some, I think, pretty great advice to give recently, basically stating that this is a really good window of time for buyers. There's a lot of favorability in the market right now with the fact that the pressure's off essentially to race to put an offer in. You're not going to be competing against 8 other buyers. You're not going 100,000 over asking price. You're paying a bit more for the interest rate, but those things can always be changed over time. And so, he's basically really bullish about this being a really good time to be a buyer right now in the market.
That's pretty amazing. The biggest change here is our housing inventory, right? So a lot of the state or a lot of the nation has actually been rising in inventory. You have a few secret spots like Kansas, apparently, where they have way less inventory than the rest of the country. But with that reduction in buyers has come an increase in inventory. So that's also playing into why it's a good time to be a buyer this year.
Well, and coming, specifically, through the lens of Colorado, it's always good to not see us on an extreme color. Extreme colors are bad.
Well, we've been on an extreme color side of this since we started the podcast 4 years ago.
Yeah. So light blue is good, as we've determined before in the past, and
the pack, so bad.
We're all right with it. Yeah, and again, folks, if you're ever thinking of buying real estate in Nevada, just don't. Every time there's a recession, you just get your ass handed to you. So just stay away. It's a gamble, just like everything else in Nevada, right? So, Anthony, we've been using this slide consistently for a while to help illustrate different opinions of what the forecast is going to be for prices this year, right?
We have, and the weirdest part is every single month they seem to come down.
Yes.
Well, I mean, they were all blue,
yes,
and then they started looking at Zellman.
Yeah.
And apparently everybody started to react in kind because Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac said plus 5% about 3 months ago.
Yeah.
So,
like it averaged out last month. I looked before we began today, and it was 0.4% increase in prices nationwide last year. Now we're at that 0.1. Is it going to go red soon? Who knows? But, I think the good thing here is we're talking, plus or minus 2%, right? I mean, it's not going to be huge, whether it's 2% positive, 1% positive, or negative 2%. We've all had tremendous gains. And just looking at how home prices have, gone up and down, what's interesting is this is, from Zillow's data, and this is where they expect to see more of that kind of price shift. And so when you look, at the fact that, we're looking at maybe a flat growth for the year overall, according to that blend of all these. Here you can see on a micro market, essentially, where is that growth? Where is the price decrease is going to be? Here you can see in the Front Range, it's got that light kind of pinkish hue where there's going to be maybe a little bit of a downward shift in prices. But
maybe 1% is what it's showing.
Yeah.
No, I'd like to argue with them a little bit on that, because if El Paso County is going to go up by 5% and we're going to all sit still, we're all kind of in the same inventory situation. Well, but either way, I mean, this is all pretty modest, right? And that's what we really want to see.
Well, and this is obviously like 700 micro markets or so, but if it's from Zillow. But if you look at what Zillow says nationwide, they still think it's a 1.1% increase. So when you blend the green with all the red, they think it's a positive 1.1% themselves. And this is just kind of neat. I wanted to show this really quick for market stability. Yes, there's some like Oklahoma, Iowa, and Alaska, the most stable housing markets. But Colorado, this is the odds of experiencing a 5% price drop in 23 years period of time. Colorado being just lighter, dark gray, not too bad of a place to be. And, one thing that Anthony and I have been talking about for years now is the fact that we have not been building enough homes. And that's one of the reasons we're very bullish about just the long-term health of the market, and why we've been prognosticating from the beginning that whether it's COVID or whatever else, you're not going to see a huge price drop in anything, right?
Right. We've been talking about this since we started our podcast 4 years ago, where we just never got back to the building levels that we needed. And now you got millennial home buyers as your biggest home buyer portion, where just the demographic shift that's taking place, we just don't have enough homes for everyone that needs one. And that's going to create just more and more and more of an inventory shortage every year right now.
Well, and if you look at the fact that 1986 is where this chart starts, and where does the graph come in 1986? Well, holy crap, we've got 40 years of population growth in the United States, and yet we're less homes every year. So guys, prices aren't going down. If you're a buyer, just stop trying to fool around and time the market. Just get in there, because the second the market wakes back up and realizes there's no homes to buy, it's going to be right back to the craziness we've been seeing in the past.
Yeah, I really think that inventory shortage is going to catch up with us 2024, 2025 for
Yeah.
sure. And it could even be worse than what we've been experiencing because once the market gets used to a 5% interest rate or
Yeah.
wherever we land,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people are still going to have to transact. That just doesn't change.
The pent up demand is only going to get worse. We're going to see, especially by 2025.
Exactly.
It's going to be nuts. So, one thing that I found a little bit odd was that, Colorado is one of the more robust states when it comes to investing in new home construction, considering how we tend to have more infill development locally, and then we get on the plains. You do have these larger communities. It just doesn't seem like we have, though, the ragtag crazy growth like you have in Texas or you have in some of the other southeast states of just unfurled, growth spreading out further and further in sprawl. But apparently the Colorado per 100,000 per 10,000 residents, we're actually one of the larger builders out there. So again, just circling back to the fact that we are kind of in this weird period of time. Real estate's been in a recession essentially for 6 months. Here we are in January 2023. We've had 6 months of pretty rough times for the market. Real estate usually leads everyone out of recession, and in this case, I think it's very clear that it's going to. Because if the country does go into a recession, it's going to start sometime in first quarter, second quarter of this year. We've already been doing it in the real estate business for a while. So just a couple things to point out is that between 2006 and 2009, home prices nationally did fall 28%. So that brought 11 million homes below their purchase value of their mortgage. And back then, mortgages were 71.3% of the value of the home. And now it's only 43.6%. So there's a ton of cushion in case there is some sort of price drops. 2% price drop, again, it's nothing if that's what happens this year. So,
right. We hate to beat a dead horse on this one, but the fact is that this real estate is not going into a recession. We have trillions and trillions of dollars more in equity than we've ever had in the years past. And it just plays out in the market so favorable for homeowners.
Yeah, and this last point about if you want to like kind of recreate how bad it got 15 years ago, you need prices to drop 40 to 50%, which not even Ivy Zellman is predicting right now. So have prices hit rock bottom? As you can see here, we've gotten into a negative price for the last few months, but the fact is home prices have not probably hit rock bottom, because here you can see the pending listing count going all the way through November right now. Pending listings are sales within 10 to 45 days essentially. Well, if it's dropping every month and it's continuing to grow every month, well, you're probably not seeing the bottom yet. So I'd say certainly December is going to be probably pretty bad.
Yeah,
too.
I think our January is probably going to be the bottom of when we look at the data. You're really going to start seeing things course correct from there. Interest rates have really come down over the last month or so, and you don't see that in the data for a couple of months. So I really kind of want to put some caveats on this. Like, we see all this gloom and doom in the marketplace. It's been slowing down. We're going to see, these pending listings pretty low for January, February, March, April, because we had 3% interest rates last January. We're looking at year-over-year numbers, right? We're comparing this to like gangbuster parts of the market. You're going to see those drops, but realistically, prices are not going down anymore after about January, because you have so many more buyers re-entering the marketplace, even if you do have sellers taking part in that market.
Yeah, and anything, like we've always said, interest rates, if they shoot up, give it 3 to 6 months, and then behavior starts to normalize around that new norm. Right. It's just inevitably what happens. So, another thing to keep in mind is that home appreciation pre and post pandemic. Well, if Anthony, just move your head for one sec there you go. You're on an escalator. So from September of 17 to September of 20, there's a 12% increase nationwide in home prices, and yet you can see the gangbuster gains. Again, anytime you have this much of a party going on, there's going to be a bit of a hangover. We're seeing a little bit of that. But if you can have a 50% price increase in essentially 5-6 years of time, there's plenty of cushion going back to kind of what we talked about with, the idea that people are, sitting on a mountain of equity. So even if there's a bit of a price drop, it's not going to negatively affect things too much. And so that's, where we're at with that. And then, what we just wanted to also point out is that if you are concerned about interest rates, one of the best things you could be doing right now is talking to your agent, talking to your lender about trying to mitigate those costs by doing rate buy downs, whether it's a long-term buy down off of the 30-year itself or more of a band-aid solution.
Yeah,
like
those
a
short-term
2 1 year buy down type
those
thing.
2-1 buy downs are really interesting too, because that money is really tied up in escrow and it's used towards that payment. So that way you're getting concession off the sales price,
Yeah.
or maybe you're paying it out of pocket, but you don't lose that money if you refinance. So that way, as interest rates trickle down, you have that money in the bank to use towards those refinances, and it seems like it's just the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Now, it's not a permanent solution. So if you think we're at the bottom of a rate problem right now, then maybe you don't go that route. But from what everyone's kind of predicting, we're talking about dropping rates a little bit all the way
Yeah,
through.
we
the
should
year.
be seeing probably 5% by the end of the year, beginning of next. So that's the national update right now. And we just wanted to let you know again that I'm Jim Marion, realtor here at Coldwell Banker. I'm at 303-548-0243, or you can hit me up at jim@ourcoloradohomes.com.
I'm Anthony Meisner with Land Title. You can always reach me on my cell, 303-968-9868, or ameisner@ltgc.com.
And we're covering the national news right now, so pay attention. We're going to be releasing then also our state level information, as well as our report on the local Front Range market itself.
Don't forget, you can always get us at Get Real with Blockchain, wherever you find your podcasts, if you want to dive down that rabbit hole with us as well. Have a great day.
Have a great day, everybody. Take care.